could be Wednesday, and that means plants and garden expert Craig Hignight is joining us live to answer all of your just burning questions. It's a great time of year for plants and planting and all that. So we're actually going to start out with a question about Mother's Day because it's this Sunday and a lot of moms will be getting flowers. So what are some tips to make sure those cut flowers last longer?
Okay, when you get cut flowers, hopefully you will get a little packet of floral preservative, and after 2 or 3 days, your flowers should come in floral preservative if they're arranged. You go ahead and you take the water out, put the floral preservative in the water, and then take off about 1 inch of the stem at the bottom with a good sharp knife, put them back into the vase, should be ready to go for another several days.
Bada boom.
So it's kind of like when you get a Christmas tree, you cut the bottom of the tree off
You
and you
have
put it in
yes,
the water. Okay.
yes. The plants save themselves by clogging the end of their stem so that they don't lose moisture. Well, you got to remove that plug to let moisture come back up into the plant.
See, I never knew that. Now
There you
I
go.
know. We've got James wondering, why is my watermelon houseplant losing its leaves?
Usually if the watermelon peperomia is losing leaves, you're keeping it a little bit too wet, especially if those leaves look perfectly healthy when they come off. Watch your watering. Feel that leaf. It feels like a succulent. You can run it just a tad drier than your average houseplant.
Perfect. So why does my Imhoff bush keep hurting the Jessie flowers planted nearby?
I have no idea. I've been looking for Imhoff for over 3 weeks, and I cannot find it anywhere.
Wow.
If you've got a picture, please send it to Wallace's Garden Center, and we will try and figure out what you're looking at.
Very interesting. From Bill, when should I put out my hummingbird feeder?
I'd be getting it out soon. We haven't put ours out yet, but I do have a salvia sitting out on the deck right now. I'm sure that will attract the hummingbird for sure. It's a great hummingbird attractor. And our little guy, when he comes back, he just flies back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, looking in our patio window saying, "Hey, dummy, I'm back."
It's time to
Perfect. Well, my crabapple tree has apple scab. How do you treat it?
Well, as soon as the petals dropped, you should have started spraying with an all-purpose fruit tree spray. You're going to spray 5 times, 10 days apart. So you're going to be spraying for the next 50 days. That should get the scab under control.
We've got a root stimulator question. This is, all of the transplanting of my veggies is done, and I'm ready to add root stimulator. Do all veggies take the same dosage of root stimulator?
All plants get the same dosage. It says 3.5 tablespoons on the label. I usually just suggest 3 tablespoons. It's a lot easier. Do you know how much a half a tablespoon is? Well, anyway, go ahead, 3 tablespoons per gallon, and you can mix it up in a 5-gallon bucket and use it on your plants. Try and use it up. It does not keep after it has been mixed, so you want to use it up when you make it.
All right, perfect. Well, this is from Gail. So I put down starter fertilizer 3 weeks ago. And when can I put my weed and feed down?
Weed and feed can go down anytime now. I've noticed that the dandelions are starting to puff already, and that's the sign that step 2, the weed and feed, should go down.
All right. From Melanie, when should we plant cucumber seeds?
Cucumber seeds, I think the way the weather's going, they can be planted just about any time.
All righty. Well, perfect. So this is from Joyce. How do you care for clematis and prepare it for winter?
Okay, clematis. Say you've got a new one that you just put in the ground. You're going to let it grow this year. Next spring, you're going to cut it to 10 inches above the ground. The next spring after that, you're going to cut it to 10 inches above the ground again. You're trying to force new growth to come up from below ground level. Every year after the first 2 years, you cut it off about 30 inches hip high and do it every year for the rest of the plant's life.
From Jim, we have a 12-foot arborvitae, and about 1/3 of it is green, but the rest has been brown for over a year. Is it salvageable, or is there time to get the saw out?
Well, stand back, take a look, see, and visualize what the tree is going to look like after you remove the brown part. If you can't stand looking at it, I'm going to suggest a cosmetic cut about 2 inches above ground level.
All righty, perfect. Well, this is from Deborah. She has knots in her house plants. She's looking for some help. What should she do?
What does she
has
have?
knots in her
gnats.
house plants.
Oh, fungus gnats.
Oh, no.
That's a biggie. Okay, that tells me that you've got a wet plant somewhere in the house. It takes extremely high water content to grow a fungus gnat. If you want to get rid of them very quickly, you use mosquito bits, which you soak in water. There's a bacteria that it gives off, BT, and then you water your plants with that. It kills off the larvae that are there right now, but they're going to come back if you don't let that plant dry out. Always make sure you drain the excess after you water a plant. Water soaking up from the bottom is the best way to grow a fungus gnat I can think of.
And from Joyce, how do you care for clematis and prepare it for the winter?
We just answered that one.
Oh, did we?
Prepare it?
Yep,
Okay,
passed
now
that one.
I didn't
our
get
questions are
the
good.
end of that question.
Oh, hey, perfect.
You don't do anything to prepare it for winter. They should be perfectly hardy in this area. All your work is done in the spring. Just let it stand through the winter and cut it off in the spring.
Perfect. That worked out well. It was part 2 of
Yeah,
that question.
I like a two-part.
All right. Well, we're going to take just a couple-minute break here, but when we get back, we'll answer more of your questions, so stick with us.
Craig Hignight joining us again this morning as we continue some of your plant and garden
Yes.
questions. Let's get right back to it. So we've got one from Susie. Where can I take those hanging basket containers to be recycled?
Well, in my neighborhood, we have curbside recycling, so it just goes into the recycle bin. You might, one place, a couple of places that might be able to use them would be the conservatories around town. They have to go out and buy containers all the time. So you've got Moline Conservatory, you've got Rock Island, you've got Vanderveer. You might check with them and see if they can reuse plastic from gardening containers.
Perfect.
Good idea.
Yeah, very good idea. So, okay, I think we got a twofer here. So this is from Kimberly. Can daylilies be split now, and when can I trim and shape burning bushes and barberry bushes?
Okay, daylilies, I would not transplant them now. They're just getting ready to come into bloom. Do your transplant after they're done blooming. However, if it's a kill or cure operation where it's going to end up under a sidewalk, yeah, go ahead and do it. These are tough little puppies. You can't really hurt them. What was the second part of that?
The second one was, when can I trim and shape burning bushes and barberry bushes?
Okay, you can trim burning bush and barberry bush now. Just don't get carried away. If you have to do heavy pruning, that really needs to be done, or needed to be done, back in February, early March.
Very nice.
Mary says she has grubs. How does she get rid of them?
Well, right now, they're, we aren't going to put down our year-round grub control for about another month and a half. But right now, you can put down what I call the nuclear option. It's 24-hour grub control, and it takes out everything in the yard except the worms. Those are the good guys. So 24-hour grub control is what you're looking for.
Alrighty, so this viewer is asking, can I relocate my stargazer lilies from my old house to our new house? They are already about 2 inches tall.
Boy, that's
Oh,
that's a
boy.
toughie. They've used up a lot of energy getting their head above the ground. But if you're not going to have access to them in September, when you should move them, you go ahead and you move them with a nice big clump of soil. Have the new hole ready. You take them out of the ground, put them back in the ground. Definitely put a fence around them. You don't know if you've got groundhogs and bunnies at that new house yet, so you've got to protect them. Use your root stimulator when you put them back in the ground. Fertilize about every 10 days with something like Miracle Grow or a Bloom Booster. These are heavy feeders, and then we're going to keep our fingers crossed.
Works
pray.
most of the time, right?
Just pray, yeah.
This is from Elaine. We have a red maple planted about 8 years ago, and the trunk is split from the ground up through the main trunk. Do we leave it, or is there something we can do?
Well, what you should do, that's a frost crack. And you should take a very sharp knife and whittle the edges of that split until you come to where the bark is firmly attached to the heartwood. You don't paint, you don't cover, but next winter you're going to wrap the tree with tree wrap to go ahead and protect it so you don't get a new frost crack next year.
Alrighty, so I have 2 crimson maple trees in my backyard that we planted 3 years ago, and they haven't grown much. Is there a fertilizer that will help stimulate some growth?
Well, you're at the end of when I would suggest using the root stimulator, but go ahead, give them a dose of root stimulator. Make sure you've got a nice 24, 30-inch circle of mulch around them to keep lawnmowers and weed eaters away from them. And remember, in our area, we get most of our rain in July. Invest some water in August and September to go ahead and help build that tree up for the next year.
All right, I've got Dave that says, I have a vole problem. What should I do?
Mouse traps and peanut butter. You know, voles are basically just mice without ears. So what you have to do is find out where you think they're congregating or close to their nest if you can, and you go ahead and you put out a mouse trap, put peanut butter on it. I usually suggest covering it with a pot or something and block the pot just an inch off the ground on one side. Voles can get under that, but squirrels and bunny rabbits can't. And, you know, voles love peanut butter.
All right, Carissa is asking, how do I cut my clematis to make a new starter?
Okay, clematis can be difficult. So what you're going to do, when you get a nice long stem growing this year, you're going to bend it down to the ground, and you're going to dig a little hole, and you're going to put a node. That's where the leaves are. Down in the hole, you're going to pin it down with a little loop of wire, put a rock on, backfill the hole, put a rock on top of it, and then let Mother Nature take her course. That will eventually go ahead and make new roots, and in a year or two, you'll have a clematis that you can move. Do your move in October. That's the time to transplant clematis.
Bingo, a good way to bring us home there. Craig, thank you so much for joining us as
question.
always.
Yes.
We'll see you next Wednesday. And be sure to join our Facebook Live with Craig each and every Wednesday. There you can submit your questions and be a part of the conversation. GMQC at 11 returns in just a few moments.